Hey, hey, welcome back to Cream City Dreams, the podcast where I talk with incredible women week after week who are doing phenomenal things for our city and our community to create a sense of place and a sense of space and a sense of belonging for everyone. Like today's guest, Stephanie Ciatti, she is the founder of Babbling Babes. And lest you think that this is a podcast only for brand new moms with teeny tiny babies, let me tell you that this is not. This is a podcast for everyone because we all know moms and we all know that feeling of needing to feel like we're not alone, which is essentially what the organization is about. But she's got a really interesting story as well that can inspire any of us with an idea, any of us who have this need that just isn't being met, to create it ourselves, because that's what she did with Babbling Babes. So let's dive right into my conversation with Stephanie Ciatti. Today on the podcast, I'm excited to welcome the founder of a local organization called Babbling Babes, which is a community of local moms who connect and support and uplift each other, all while engaging in curated gatherings that support local businesses in Milwaukee. And this season, as listeners will know, is all about women who have made changes or pivots or big life decisions. And today's guest, Stephanie Ciatti, is a fabulous example of what happens when life throws us a curveball, or in this case, a baby or two or three, that kind of upends everything in the best possible way, of course. I think sometimes we move towards and create exactly the thing that we're looking for, which is what Stephanie did with Babbling Babes. And I'm excited to talk about that. So welcome, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So I do have to be honest. I feel like your name, or at least the name of Babbling Babes, has come up as in recent years as somebody that I should interview, that I should have on the podcast. And I sort of put it off because I heard the name Babbling Babes and I thought, oh, this is going to be a conversation about newborns or sleep training or diaper rashes or baby-led weaning, right? And all the things that are so important to new moms, that I know that, but also selfishly, I'm out of that stage. And I was in it for a long time because I was a blogger at Milwaukee Mom's Blog when that existed. So I wrote an article on how to get your kids to eat broccoli and all those things. And I'm not going to lie, though, I don't mind having those early years behind me. But we met earlier this year at a friend's house, and I heard your story of how Babbling Babes is so much more about community and connections and creating a sense of belonging for women and mothers and new moms, and I don't want to say less about the babies, but really more about that community. And I was like, okay, I'm totally in. I'm all in. Those words are my love language. So my apologies, I guess.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying for not having you on earlier.
I think a lot of people think that.
Yeah. Well, tell us. So for listeners who might not be familiar with Babbling Babes, give us like the elevator pitch. What is it that you do? Who's it for?
So Babbling Babes is not your mom's mom group. I like to say it's really for the women behind the mom label. So a lot of mom groups are for our kids, and we come along and we're kind of like the accessory to our kids at those groups. And this group is really for the women. And yes, I just came from a mom and baby group. So yes, we have groups with our kids, but we also have so much more just for ourselves. So we have book clubs, we have moms nights, we have workout classes. Again, a lot of things with the kids, but it's with the kids and making sure there's an element that is for the moms, be it coffee or just a gentle reminder that you're here to make connections with other women. So be open, so that when you're coming to these events, you're leaving with something. It was meaningful for those women, not just the kids.
Yeah, because we are so many. I mean, we are mothers, yes, but we are so many more things than, like you say on your website, just moms, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about the story, your story. It was formed in 2019 because, as I said earlier, because you needed it. Because before 2019, you were, I mean, also still a mother as well, but you were a speech pathologist. Is
Yep,
that
I
sort of
was
your
a
training?
speech pathologist. So I had my first two, and I was working PRN at a hospital as a speech pathologist. And I was doing a lot of not end of life, but post stroke, swallowing issues where people were being put on feeding tubes. It was a heavy job and it was very rewarding. But my life at home was also very heavy at that time. My husband was working insane hours. He wasn't home when our kids were awake. I had two
Mm,
under two. My second was colicky. I tried to go to the hospital groups and some of the mom groups in town, but I always left feeling like, and kind of a little bit of an outsider. I had a baby that wouldn't stop crying, spitting up. So in 2019, I had my third. And when I got pregnant with my third, I vowed to myself I wasn't going to have the same experience as I did with my second.
mm,
My first, I was fine. I actually started a little mom group in Tosa. I posted on a website called What to Expect When You're Expecting. And I said, who else is having a baby around this date? And there were 10 of us that met at a coffee shop. And at that time, it wasn't as common to just meet up with random people, especially
mm,
pregnant people. So my husband's like, he was circling the block. He's like, I don't know who's going to show up. He posted this on a website, but that group of women actually was amazing that first year of my son's life. And we do baby brunches and baby New Year's parties, and we supported each other as we all started going back to work. So I had that with my first, and then with my second, that first round of friends with their babies. I was the first one to get pregnant, and I felt like I was kind of just I thought it'd be easy again, and it wasn't. So it really rocked my
mm,
world. So in
mm.
2019, I said, I'm going to find another group of women who want to get out to cool coffee shops with our babies and do things. And that didn't exist when I looked. So I said, I'm going to do it myself because I need this. And I reached out to Adrienne from Little Sprouts Play Cafe. She said, okay, why don't we try it out? I don't know, I didn't know if anyone was going to show up. And that first group of women showed up that first day. I think there were 7 of us. And I was like, no, this is going to happen. So at first, when I would reach out to businesses, especially non-kid focused businesses, they were a little apprehensive about the idea. They're like, this isn't a kid place. And I'm like, no, it's
Mm.
for moms and babies. That's what it started as. Moms and babies. We can do this. And I decided at that point I was going to leave my job as a speech pathologist and just be a mom and do this as well.
Not just. I feel like we got to remove that word
I need,
just from our
that's
vocabulary,
true.
right?
Yeah.
Yes, be a mom. Yes,
Be a
I
mom. Yeah.
same, same, same. Yeah, it was the same for me after my second was born. It was like the cost of childcare was more than my salary for 2 kids, and so yes, staying at home became an option. And I feel that too, that sort of isolation that comes with, especially with a second kid. And when we were a little bit the same, like the first to have the second kid,
Mhm.
and you feel like it's just different. I think going from 1 to 2 is almost harder. Well, I suppose everybody has their opinions on which is harder going from to
Yeah.
what, but
Yeah.
it's hard. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
hard. So you had said you were in some of the hospital groups.
Yeah. I'm trying to think, maybe 1 or 2. It wasn't consistent.
Yeah.
And I remember it was a baby group, so I would have to find childcare for my son to go with my daughter. And that was a hurdle as well. And yeah, then I felt like if I was going somewhere, I wanted to go somewhere that was kind of fun, like a
Yeah.
nod to my pre-baby life. I love getting out and about. That's something I really enjoy and gives me energy, and just being out in the community. And I went to like a windowless room in a hospital with other moms with babies. And I was like, I'm not feeling uplifted when I leave, even if I met, some cool people. It wasn't for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that first year, this is 2019, presumably you have enough time to get out and about and do and begin to start this idea, begin to get it on the track. And then of course March 2020 hits. And then
Yeah.
so then what happens? And you have to
Yeah.
pivot. Does
Yeah.
it
So we were going strong. We had weekly gatherings at Little Sprouts, Neighbor Art Studio, Black Bear Boutique, all these great, close to the heart boutique, great little spots. And then we also had premier gatherings, we called them. We'd go to Journeyman Hotel, cool upscale spots and be
mm,
treated. And then we had this great happy hour planned at Journeyman. I still remember it. We were going to have a photographer there, non-alcoholic options, working moms. It was timed so working moms could get there with their babies.
Oh,
And
still the
then
babies were still along for the
yeah,
ride
with
at
the
the
happy hour.
journeyman.
Yeah, it was
Okay.
kind of like a baby-friendly happy hour, kind of a nod to all the women that were working downtown. And then anyone that was at home with their kids, of course, could come with the babies. And Journeyman
Yeah.
was up for that. We were going to be in the Outsider, that beautiful spot up there. And I remember watching the news and emailing Journeyman, and we're like, this doesn't feel right. It was March. I think we need to cancel. We'll reschedule in a couple weeks, a month. And then you know what happened.
Yeah, right.
So I decided to go virtual because I did have this group of women who were still needing community, and I
Mm.
was now getting a ton of emails from women who were pregnant at that time. And it, like, I might cry just thinking about it. All the emails that were coming in saying, I was so excited to come to your group. And now I don't even know if my partner can be in the room with me when I give birth. I'm so
Mm.
scared. So I was like, no, we still need this community, but it has to look different.
Yeah.
So we started doing virtual tribes. So I just said, if you are a mom who's pregnant or you have a child, a baby, anyone, if you're looking for community or a mom in the area, email me where you live, you know, your due date or your kids' ages, and I'll match you up. And I
Oh,
matched
wow.
almost 200 local moms at that time into virtual tribes, we called it, of 3 to 5 moms in the same area, similar age kids. And they kept in touch and they would, you know, do Skype calls or just text messages to support each other. And it was cool because as we got through COVID, that was happening. And then when we started returning, our first big gathering was an outside in the yard at the Iron Horse. So it's
Mm.
a gathering there. And a lot of these women who met in their virtual tribes came and met in person for the first time.
Mm.
And it was kind of like this big coming out party. Like they now had their babies who were almost a year or over a year at that point. And it was kind of cool to
Yeah.
see the group survive that really hard time.
Wow. How that is. And are you doing this all at this point out of the goodness of your heart? Is this a
Yeah.
volunteer thing? Have
Yeah,
you
there
turned it
was
into a
no,
business yet? No.
yeah, no, it wasn't a business at that point. Nope. The first year definitely was out, that was out of pocket. If I was, I would ticket some of the events. Like we did a Harbor House brunch, and Bartolotta's gave us $100, and then I used some of the ticketed money, but a lot of it was coming out of my pocket. And I remember my husband being like, this is amazing, and I know you need this. And this is like your massage money, your self-care money. And so at
Mm.
that point, it was kind of like, I needed this. So if I had to pay, I was going to pay for it.
And at some point, does it turn into something?
Yes,
Do you quit? Well, you've already quit your job at that
I quit
point.
my job.
So,
I have sizable student debts from getting my master's in speech pathology. So I started having a little bit of guilt thinking about my monthly payments that are going towards that. And I'm like, looking at the hours I am working, and I figure I need to somehow make some money. And my goal was I just want to be able to pay for my student loans. So that's not coming out of the family money. And it kind of eased the guilt of, I have these loans, but I'm not working as a speech pathologist.
mm.
So that's when I formed the Babbling Babes app. It's the community. It's through the Heartbeat app, and it's off social media. And I always wanted the group to be free. I didn't want there to be a membership price. So this is an option. You don't have to join. And you can join and leave if you find people, or you can join and stay, and it's only $5 a month. But
Mm.
that way, that money can go towards paying off my student loans, or if I need things for gatherings, I am generating some income. And
Yeah.
yeah,
Not paying out of pocket, which, yeah.
no, not
Yeah.
no more.
Yeah, it's so hard. I feel like this is kind of a side tangent conversation, but it's so hard as women to, or I don't know why we have this message that to do something we love or to do something that we need and then to charge for it. I don't know. We have this like guilt that comes
Yeah,
with that. It's like, well,
yeah,
how can I try? I feel a little like that sometimes
yeah,
when I do things, but it's like, you know what? That is your time and your time is worth
yeah,
something, right?
yeah. It's
So,
worth something, and it's yeah, it is weird because I struggle that still to this day. This is hard for me to even talk about because I do feel I'm like, if I love it and it's needed, it should be free, and I shouldn't be paid for it. It's very strange that, and I'm working on that.
Yes,
But I
yes.
do, I went to the group this morning with the moms and babies, and it's free and they can come, and I know it's important, but I think sometimes I need to remind myself that it's okay to have a little bit of a membership fee or something. What I did at that group is I made beanies. So then when the moms are out and about, they're wearing the logo. It's a little icebreaker. They can say hi, but that's another stream of income where I'm like, it's not necessary. They don't have to pay for it, but if they want to, it's there and it
Yeah.
serves a purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think people would pay too, right? I think people
I think
see
they,
the value in
yeah,
what you're offering, and it's so needed that
yeah. I think they
$5 a
would.
month. Yeah, I think.
Yeah, that's a me thing that I'm still working on. Who knows where it comes from?
Yeah, maybe one of your moms is a financial, a money coach or something. Like
Yeah.
you can
Yeah.
barter. You can barter.
Hmm.
Where did this? I'm always curious. Like, where do you think this came from in you in your growing up? Like, were you always the connector? Are you always one that looks for community, or was
Yeah.
that a big in your family value of yours?
Yeah, I know when my mom was a stay-at-home mom. So I know I went to the Bayview Community Center, which I still sing their praises. They're so great. And she did a mom group there. And she always had her group of mom friends that she did stuff with. So I saw that growing up. I knew how important it was for her. And I remember when we go
Yeah,
to the Bayview Community Center, she's like, no, I'm sitting here with the moms and we're having our coffee and we're talking. And you need to be in the playroom playing with the kids. This is for me. So I saw that kind of modeled there. Um, and then my dream job still to this day is camp director. I
mm,
love summer camps and I grew up in summer camps and I worked at summer camps and I saw how people from all different walks of life came together and you just became this great unit of people exploring and doing things together. So it's kind of like that summer campy vibe in the group where it's like, doesn't matter where you come from, doesn't matter what your parents do, doesn't matter what your clothes look like. We're here, we're doing things together, and it's about exploring the world together.
yeah,
So I think it's a little bit of that, but community is very important to me. And I know why it was so hard for me during those years with my daughter was because I didn't feel like I had that consistent community to reach out to. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And how is it evolved? So from you started in 2019, seven of you at Little Sprouts,
Mhm.
and then the pandemic, as you talked about, the sort of behind the scenes work that you did of connecting women, and then 20 late 21, 22 comes and we're starting to get out again. And now, I mean, what has that evolution been like to where now you have, I mean, I was looking at your calendar. It's a super impressive calendar. This week alone, there's like 6 or 7 or 8 different book clubs in all suburbs, all areas around Milwaukee County. Well, how did that evolution happen?
Yeah, so we just kept growing. My kids kept growing. Pippa's, now 5, but as she aged through the years, I had this idea to do, it started as just babies. And I was like, no, we still need community. And a lot of my friends had older kids, and I looked to them for wisdom. And I was like, we need this sisterhood of wisdom passing from the moms with the older kids to the ones with the younger kids. And we need that kind of sisterhood. So I started making gatherings that were for older kids and toddlers and kids. And I was like, this just should be for moms. And the name was always Babbling Babes specifically because I wanted to. And the first picture, the first logo I had was like kind of a mom with a cute dress on and her hair up and then her baby on her hip. Because I wanted to say, we're babes and our babies are babes and and we're
Mm,
just connecting. We're babbling babes. So that's where that came from. So I just wanted to make sure that there was enough so moms with maybe teenagers and moms with little ones could come out and connect. So that's where the book clubs came from. And it's also just a weekly, daily habit you can get into pretty easy. So if every month there's a book you can read, and there's very much, you do not have to finish the book. You don't even have to start the book. If you want to come out, there's every month there's a night out with other local moms looking for connection.
mm.
So that came from that. And then I have 10 book club hosts that are amazing women in their own neighborhoods who are readers and the most organized people I know. And they host these meetings, and the businesses also are open to, reserving these spaces for this group of women. It's just been like a perfect, beautiful thing that has happened. And now every month it happens.
So cool. So cool. And how does each woman find the business? Do you have relationships with these businesses?
Yeah. So I usually reach out. So it happens when a woman reaches out and says, I want a book club in my neighborhood. So then we talk and I ask which businesses she likes frequenting. And either she will reach out or I'll reach out. And then the relationships go from there. There's usually a preliminary meeting, phone call. We explain the group. We'd say we set on their calendar so they know, the last Thursday of the month at this time. The numbers vary depending on the book, what moms have going on in their lives. But we have some very consistent regulars, and the core of Babbling Babes, going back to that first, mom group experience I had where I felt like clickies, the core is there's no clicks, there's no trying to push any agendas, there's no judging. It's just, if we're here, we're all looking for connection or we're all open to making connections. So we want that energy at every group. So the hosts are aware of that. And we try to promote that in everything we do.
Mm. And is so at this point, is it still just, well, you said you have the book club captains, but is it you behind the scenes
Yeah, it's
as the
me.
captain?
Yeah, I am the captain. I have 4 women who are Babbling Babes ambassadors, so they take a little bit of a heavier role in organizing. If they have an event they really want to do, they have like the media kit for Babbling Babes to tell the businesses about what the group's about, and I kind of trust them to organize a gathering and then lead the gatherings with that mentality behind it. So there's the book clubs, and there's these 4 women from Waukesha, Menominee Falls, Cedarburg, and I'm in Mequon. And they're running the kind of the ambassador group. So if we have, you saw the calendar, there's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And if I can't be at all of them, or if one of their kids is the perfect age for that, they might take the lead at like a mom and baby group. So that is kind of how it's running right now. And it's working pretty well. And these women that come out as ambassadors or hosts is kind of like it's their calling too. It's their passion as well. And a
Mm.
lot of them have made friends in this group, so they understand the importance of it. So it's kind of fun to know that they're out there continuing this work, at these
Yeah.
gatherings when I can't be there.
Yeah, because I mean, at this point, the way it's growing, you can't be at every. I mean, you still have your own family and evenings,
Right.
and yeah, yeah. And when you say no clicks, no shame, no judgment, all moms are welcome of all stripes. What is it diverse? Like, do you get that cross section of?
Yeah. There's not as much diversity as I dream of someday, but it is diverse. And I think that from everything I've experienced, I've never experienced any judgment or clicky vibes that I've seen.
Mhm.
And I just want to make sure that we're respectful. We get enough. We are critical of ourselves as moms as it is. The world is heavy enough as it is. So to go to these gatherings, I do want it to feel safe. And I do want you to know that you can show up as you are. And leave with connections, hopefully, or if nothing else, leave with a good experience and feel a little bit more uplifted.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Have there been any obstacles or pitfalls or lessons learned as you're building this?
Yeah. Yeah, there have been.
Yeah, can you talk about
With
though any of
everything.
those?
Yeah. So when it was just a baby group, um, and our kids were becoming toddlers, I had a group of women reach out to me and say, "We want more toddler things happening." I'm like, "That's great. Let's, sit down." We had a meeting. Let's do this together. I connected them with like Discovery World. It's going to be a baby branch and a toddler branch. And then I get a call from them and they're like, we're actually just going to do this by ourselves, without Babbling Babes, without, that under the umbrella. And they're like, it'll still work great. You can pass the babies off to us when they're toddlers and we'll take it from here. We have a name, we have merchandise. And I just said,
Hmm.
this doesn't feel right to me. And I sat on it for a little bit because as a woman, you want to promote community. And that's what they're doing. They're promoting community. It's something they need in their life. But as a human, you feel hurt And you think, why
Mm.
do they not want to work with me? And I have these connections, and they met through Babbling Babes. That took me a while to, and they did go on and do their group. It no longer exists because their kids are no longer toddlers. And that was kind of my feeling. I went back to them and I said, this hurts a little. I see this as a business. I want this to continue for so long, and you can have ownership of the toddler group in it, but I want it to continue. I want there to be life to this. We're not leaving women hanging if it no longer works in your life. And that's what happened. And it happened again with a different area of the group where a mom came from further away, attended, the Babbling Babes gatherings and said, I want to do this in the Lake Country area. And I was like, oh, that's great. Let's do, a Lake Country branch of this. I have connections with the corners, all of that. And she said, no, I just want to do it myself. But
Mm.
it, again, looks the same types of gatherings. So that is a lesson I've learned. I don't know. I think I'm still learning it, that
Mm.
when you have an idea, people will want to recreate it with their own little twist on it. And just kind of seeing the good in it and letting it go and not taking it personally. But it's hard when you have this vision of this group just expanding and being for everyone and wanting
Mm.
people to help you take that away and blast it off and take this idea. But I think everything happens for a reason, and that the women that have helped me grow it, these ambassador women, they really understand the core Babbling Babes. And the
Yeah.
fact that they're selfless in it and they're doing it for the community is what I've really had to focus on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that is so interesting because on the one hand, it's what is that? What we always tell our children,
Oh, yes.
imitation is
It's flattery.
yeah, blah blah, whatever the
Yeah.
is the kindest form of flattery. Yeah, but then at the same time, you're like, well, hang on a minute.
Intellectual property, and it is an idea and it's a group, and you want women to connect. And if
Yeah,
they're mimicking it and working with businesses in their area and they're bringing people together, although you just want it to be warm for those women to go. And the thing is, this happened at the same time I wrote and published a children's book, speech development book. And
mm,
all of this was happening with Babbling Babes. With we were going to do it ourselves. My publisher at the time had the idea, Babbling, or Babble Books it was called, and she wrote another speech development book that looked very similar and was being marketed with mine with another speech pathologist. So it felt very much like a lot of my hard work in two different areas of my life, two different things that I was trying to make work for myself, were being almost like attacked. So
yeah,
it was a very hard couple of lessons that I learned at that time.
yeah.
Yeah.
Gosh, I feel like, are you in connection with Stephanie Malnick of Malnick and Malnick, the
No.
law firm who specializes in small business and women's business? She runs Women's Entrepreneurship Week and a group
Oh,
called
yes.
She Shines, which I
Uh-huh.
think might be an interesting group to join. You could probably learn all about trademarks and
Yes.
copyright and identity
Yes.
and all that intellectual property. Yes,
Mm-hmm.
good connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been on our podcast a couple times. So this long-term vision that you have, I mean, and you're experiencing kind of what my question is geared toward. Your kids are getting older, and yet you want this to continue so that it's not like, okay, your kid's 5 now, you're done with
Mhm.
Babbling Babes. You want it to continue. Is that what's your 5-year
Yeah.
plan, 10-year plan?
Yeah. My plan is I really want consistent programs with the still keeping it very local, where like the play cafes have every Tuesday morning. Come with your baby, get a free cup of coffee, and it's kind of running seamlessly. Bigger companies in the city that have multiple branches across the city, or maybe if like it's play cafes, a couple play cafes. So moms in all areas of the city have outlets. And I love for the app to continue to grow so that if businesses want to offer this to their employees who get pregnant and are experiencing maternity leave and coming back to work, they have this form of connection just built in right away onto their phone. There's other local moms experiencing this. So those two aspects, so it can continue to thrive. And then also I'd love to someday franchise so other cities have it, because it really is bringing the village back for local
Mm,
moms. Like you need businesses that support you that you can get out into. And then you need those women and those connections. So you feel, because motherhood is so much better when you can do it together.
Mm.
So I think just having some long-standing business relationships so that there's a mom and baby group happening every week. There's an off social media app where people can get connections. And then in that app, a lot of women can plan their events. There's moms' nights being planned. There's a cookbook club in multiple neighborhoods where moms are getting together in their kitchens and making meals together. There's walks and talks happening where they're, putting a coffee shop and then they're meeting up on a weekly basis. I just
Mm.
want to make sure that, like you said at the beginning of the podcast, I feel that way. I'm out of that phase. But I don't want to forget it. I'm not in it. But I think this doesn't exist for so many women because we make it through and then we say, okay, we did it. We're done.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we're on the next phase. And I think there needs to be someone that's like, okay, but there's other women that are in it now and they need this framework. They need somewhere to go because when you're in it, I think I did it because I had that fire in me from that second experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. I would not have taken my 6-month-old to a gathering and been like, okay, do we have coffee? Do we have this made? Do we have that? I would just look for other groups like I did
Yeah.
with my first two. But I had that fire in me to say, no, I need this. So I'm going to make this happen. So I don't want it to cease existing. I want it to keep going, even though I'm out of that phase. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And talk a little more about the Heartbeat app. Did you build it from scratch? I
No.
mean, if somebody is in there, what does it look like?
So it's very so it's not flashy at all. It's just very much you have your picture of your face, and I love that a lot of women don't have them and their babies. It's just
Mm.
them. So I love
Mm.
that. It asks your profile is basically a white screen with your face, and it says where you live, your kids' ages, and what you're looking from the community. Oh,
Mm.
and what you love to do. So a little bit about themselves. And then there's a thread on the main page, and it's just topics like who wants to go for coffee? I'm having a hard time with this. Can you help me? But it's very much you click in, and I've had a few women say this to me, and I love that they're feeling this too. You click in, you get what you're looking for, you click out. There's not the scrolling, there's not the highlight
Mm.
reels, you're not, losing yourself and leave comparison culture is very much okay. I need this tip really quick. Let me hop in. Oh, I'm free tomorrow. Let me hop in. So
Mm.
that's kind of cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
and also like Mom's Plant, they have what just started a board game. Bunko, is it Bunko or
Yeah.
Bunko nights happening? Yeah.
Okay.
So someone has an idea. Hey, I love this. Who wants to do this? And then other
Yeah.
moms hop in, and then they get it planned, and it actually happens off screen. So
Uh,
I love that.
yeah. Yes. It reminds me, I feel like when I was pregnant with my first, and this was back in 2011, there were those like chat rooms that you could go
Yes.
on and ask a question or scroll through other people's answers to try to find it. But they were like, who knows where they lived. They
Yes.
certainly weren't your people necessarily.
Hmm.
You might, you could maybe form a random connection with the women on in this chat room, but you'd probably
Yeah,
never meet them in real life. So
right. Yeah, a
I,
lot of this is about getting off screen and in person as
yeah,
best as you can. Yeah.
yeah. I love that because I was actually just in a group today that my the woman I used to co-host this podcast with, Shelly, is now doing, she's a coach, and so she's doing her own coaching, but she's leading a morning meditation, which
Um,
is sort of how we started initially before even the podcast. It was sort of how the idea for this podcast came about because we had done a meditation group together where she would read a loving kindness meditation. And so we talked, or we did this meditation this morning, and then there's a chance for some reflection at the end. And one of the women was saying, like, I am looking for in person gatherings with an intention, like to do
yeah.
something, to be creative, or to have a distraction, because I feel like right now we're all getting together and wringing our hands about, just life in this world and what's happening on a national level. But just to be in community and to do something like play bunko or like,
Hmm.
knit or read a book or,
Yeah.
like we're gathering. It feels like, and maybe you can expand on this with your experience, but it feels like we're wanting to gather differently right now.
Hmm. Yeah. I just had this conversation with another woman. I don't remember who it was, but we had the same, like, you almost feel like there has to be an intention to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
Like we've done a few knit and stitch, we do sip and reads. There's a purpose to get you there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're just connecting and sitting. And I don't know what that is either. And I think that is more specific to this time in our lives or this time in the world.
Yeah.
Um, but
I wonder if it's that, the pandemic sort of made us obviously go inward.
mhm,
And then when we could come back out, I think we all sort of tiptoed back out more intentionally and like
mhm,
who, okay, if am going to get out, who am I going to spend time with? And it's got to be really worth it,
mhm,
because there's
yeah,
always that risk, right? When we first started coming
yeah,
back out, there was always that risk of going out. So it had to be
mhm,
really purposeful. And I wonder if that kind of just stuck with us.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So I love that this kind of organization exists so that the women can
yeah.
do that. That's so cool.
Mhm.
So
And it's
cool.
daunting to get out. It is so daunting to get out and go to something that you don't know anyone at. So maybe having an intention behind it is also like, yes, intentional gatherings with our friends, yes. But also if you're going to a newer type of group and then having something else. I think we use our kids as buffers a lot for things.
Yeah.
So then without the kids having maybe, we do, like I said, the sip and reads where you bring your book and you can socialize a little bit and then you sit down and read and then you can socialize a little bit, but there's no, yeah, you don't have to socialize a ton and you kind of feel everyone out.
Yeah. I think there was a woman who's also doing that in town, like a silent book
Yes,
club or
there's
something
silent book
like
clubs
that.
as well. Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. So
Hmm.
cool. So when somebody comes to one of your events, you have likely one of these yourself or one of these ambassadors who's sort of leading the group. Are they like, does everybody wear name tags? Do you go around in a circle? Like what if I was a new mom listening to this, what would I expect when I walk in?
Yeah. So, yeah, myself or the hosts, we always make sure we say hi to everyone. And we just, casual hi. Depending on the event, there might be name tags. So, for the moms nights that are bigger, we try to do name tags. And one of our moms nights, I liked this. Some of the moms were messaging saying, I'm coming, but I'm kind of nervous. I'm going solo. I don't know anyone. So we had the moms that were coming solo put a star on their name tag. So then
Mm,
if you came with a friend and you saw someone with a star, you knew that person's there for connection. Why don't you go over and chat? And then also the group of stars kind of found each other too. And they had something in common. They were all brave enough to come solo.
yeah.
So that was kind of fun, just making sure that people that came solo were comfortable enough saying, I need someone to talk with, or I don't know anyone here. And the people who did maybe come with a friend saw that and had in their head, okay, let's make sure we're including everyone.
Yeah.
Um, for the mom and baby groups, we try to go around at the very beginning and just say hi, very quick hi, and then just let the connections happen. But there's always someone, myself or the ambassadors, that will be there. So, yes, I'm always very intentional about making sure that if I see someone standing by themselves, I'll connect with them, or I usually ask, like, what area are you from? And then I clock in my head, oh, she's from Cedarburg, she's from Cedarburg. I'll make sure I introduce them. So that's happening kind of behind the scenes. But, I feel like it's a good group. And I feel like most gatherings end with people just having a great time.
Mm,
And I can't say that 100%, but I do know I hear from the members that it's just they've found connections, they were able to find their people, or they just had a great time,
mm.
maybe just getting out of the house.
Yeah, yeah. How have you seen motherhood or moms' needs change in the years that you've been doing this?
Hmm. I I think moms are accepting that it's okay to take care of themselves more,
Mm,
and carve out time for themselves more. And I've seen more and more women, and maybe it's just because what I've done with Babbling Babes, but more and more women telling me their passions and pursuing them. Just
mm,
today, three different women told me exciting news about, I want to start this walking group, or I'm doing an Etsy shop. And just seeing that life sparkle in their eyes, because I think sometimes motherhood just it is, for a lot of us, it is our most important job, but that doesn't mean that we can't also do other jobs and have other passions and I think a lot of times I personally forgot about myself.
Mm,
So I think this group kind of reminds people you can't forget about yourself. It's not good for you. It's not good for your kids. So it helps them seek out their passions. And like I said in the app, there's these groups forming of people saying, I really miss doing this. Who else wants to do it?
mm.
And just having each other to support following those passions has been really fun.
Yeah. And how many women are on, I guess, is the app the only way you can kind of control, or I guess maybe how many are on your newsletter?
Yeah, I need to get better about doing my newsletter. There's 3,000 subscribers on the newsletter. So
Mm,
3,000 local moms that I usually just send out if we have some big events that I don't want anyone missing out on. In the app, we have 450 that have signed up. Probably about 250 are active. And in the app, I really don't like the social media game of being tied to your phone for event drops, and tickets are sold out after it's announced on social media and 20
yeah.
minutes. So
Yeah.
I make sure that if you're in the app, you have a full day before it's announced publicly to sign up for things, because these are the women that are in there really, committing to this group and finding connections. So they have a whole day. Then I try to use the website as well, and then it's announced on social media as well, because a lot of the businesses do like partnering with us for that marketing purpose, which makes sense. So
Yeah.
we have to have, the events posted on social media to expose these beautiful businesses as well. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, yeah.
And I noticed that some of your events are tied to some nonprofits in town too. So you're
Yeah.
also raising money.
Yeah, so we raise money. A portion of tickets go to family focused nonprofits. That's not for every single event, but if it is, it will be announced what's happening. We have volunteer gatherings where we've gone to the Milwaukee Diaper Mission and we've packed diapers together. We called it a rappy party, or rappy hour instead of happy hour, rappy hour.
Love it.
Yeah, we've worked with Mariah at Tetakumbo on their diaper drive with the Diaper Mission, and then also fostering community Christmas for families, supporting foster care. What else have we done? Mom's Mental Health Initiative.
Mm,
Um, we've raised money for families in Ukraine. Basically, yeah, we try to any local nonprofit. I know Kinship. We talked about that, so I'm kind of like watching that. Kids Impact Community. That's it.
mm.
That I feel like that group is so amazing. So I really try to channel as many Babbling Babes moms there and help them promote, because they're already doing so much with so many local nonprofits.
Yeah.
And that way the moms can volunteer by themselves and they can volunteer with their kids if they'd like.
Yeah. Because that group is for a little older than babies. I mean, moms could probably come and have a
Yeah.
baby on their back, but also it's meant to help kids with the idea of getting involved and giving back to the
Yes.
community.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it is such a small walkie because like yeah, we've had Sarah from Mom's Mental Health Initiative on the podcast and Megan Johnson from
Oh,
Milwaukee
yeah.
Diaper Mission. So yeah, there are so many cool women in Milwaukee supporting moms, working for mom's
Yeah.
health, mom's mental health, mom's physical health. Yeah.
Yeah. There really are. One of the moms this morning, just at our mom and baby group, said that she's from Arizona and she's like, Milwaukee really does have some amazing support for moms from the
Mm,
businesses and the nonprofits. And it really does. And that's something that has probably helped Babbling Babes, because it's not as of absurd of an idea to get moms together and in businesses and really focus on this demographic that is in the past not always been focused on.
yeah, yeah. Do you have any kind of annual event like a gala or a one
Yeah,
big fundraiser?
we we do the Mother's Day gatherings at Villa Terrace every single year.
Mm,
So Villa Terrace was the first place after the pandemic, after the Iron Horse, that we gathered for a big gathering. So it has those beautiful gardens, and Decorative Arts Museum does not. You don't think, oh, let's bring babies and toddlers there.
hmm.
Um, they're so great. They're so great with us. They open their doors. We have a photographer come in and take pictures of the moms and their babies and toddlers, and we have coffee, and it's just like a beautiful morning of connection. So we do that every single Mother's Day.
So on Mother's Day, it's like the day
It's
of?
not on Mother's Day. It's usually the weekend or the week before after Mother's Day, kind of cradling it.
Okay.
But it's called Mother's Day Gathering.
Okay. I should put you in touch too with another woman who is on the podcast this season. It hasn't come out yet, or I don't know exactly when it will come out when this airs, but
Yeah.
her name is Miranda Malone, and
Okay.
she runs the Milwaukee Motherless Collective.
She's been in touch with me. Yeah, she's wanted to do some type of collaboration.
Oh,
Yeah.
good. Yeah. Yeah. She is absolutely lovely. And what she's
Oh,
doing is
nice.
so important too, because Mother's Day is not easy for all moms, right? And she
Yeah,
specifically works with women who have lost their mothers,
right.
of which I'm sure some of the 450 women, probably
Yeah,
some of those have been just,
yeah,
yeah, so many connections. I feel like I want to
yeah.
make already by
I
through this
know. It's
conversation.
amazing.
Yes. Well, and the last question I always end with is, this is a podcast about Milwaukee women and Milwaukee women who are doing dreamy things. Who do you see as doing something dreamy, or who's inspiring you in Milwaukee?
It's a good question. I feel like there's so many people.
It's hard for people to give just one.
It is. That's what I'm just thinking. I'm weighing through like, oh, there's so many. I would say Mariah Atedekumbo, who I've become friends with. And I think it's because I see how she is using her platform and using also what she probably needs in her life and sees people in the community need in her life, and she's doing it. So she inspires me
Mm. Mm.
to just continue doing what see is needed and what's driving me as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Do you think she'd come on the podcast if I promised not to talk about Giannis?
Maybe.
I always feel like people who are connected to people must be like, okay, yeah, but what you really
Yeah,
want to talk about is, and I'm,
totally.
not really a basketball person, so
Same. My husband is, but I mean, I'll go
yeah.
to a game because
No, I will
I
too.
do
I
love
will too.
basketball, but not die hard
Yeah,
like some
yeah.
people. Mhm.
Well, maybe I'll ask you to connect us then. That would be
Yeah,
fun.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you came on to talk to me. I hope that there are listeners out here who hear this and jump on the app and jump into this community, because I think it's so cool, the kinds of events that you're doing. And I know that a lot of my listenership is probably, in the post newborn stage anyway of parenthood, but we all know people who are having babies. We all have younger friends, siblings, even grandkids or whatever. So this is a timeless opportunity to give this gift to somebody who needs that sense of belonging and needs somebody at 2 a.m. to say you're doing okay, right? so,
Definitely.
thank you for what you're doing. Thank you for coming on the show, and yeah, I look forward to meeting again in real life. Maybe we can
Yes,
have be babbling babes together and have a coffee.
that would be amazing. I would love that. Thank you for having me.
I remember those times, even though I am not in them anymore. I do remember how hard that was being a new mom. All the questions that you don't have an instruction manual for, all those late nights of wondering, am I doing this right? Am I failing my kid? Am I failing my husband? Am I failing myself? All those insecurities that come with being a new mom. And I remember how important my community was. I Babbling Babes wasn't around when my kiddos were tiny, but I remember the importance of those first women that I met through my birth class, through the hospital group that was just down the street from us, and from the relationships that we formed outside of those groups when we started to meet socially, when we started to bring our husbands out and they met. And just that community that's built in those first couple years was so key to who I became as a parent, as a mother, as a woman who also was a mother, right? Not just a mother. And here again, another story from an incredible woman who had the need, didn't see it anywhere in the community, and so she created it herself. I hope, if nothing else, that week after week, hearing these stories, listeners are realizing that that is essentially how everything happens in our society, how everything begins. There's a need, it's not being met. So you create it yourself. And in this case, I love, again, the other example from the lessons is starting small, right? So she had this need, she created it herself, and she started with 7 women and their babies at a local play cafe. And from there, you realize, oh, I put something out there. People showed up. Guess what? That must mean other people need it too. And so it builds from there. So starting small with just that first step, you don't have to start it. She didn't have to start out with a business plan or take it to a bank and say, I need some money because this is what I'm going to do. And this is how it's going to grow. And this is where it's going to be in 5 years. No, I just call a cafe because I have this need of connection and community. I put it out there and bring 7 people with me, and boom, we got something. We've got a community. Listener, is there anything in your life that you need, that you don't see, that you could create? Even if you start small, even if you invite 2 other people, I bet you could think of something if you think hard enough. And if you want to share it with me, I would love to hear. I would love to encourage you on the path to living your Cream City dream. I will put details of how to get in touch with Babbling Babes, how to find out about their events, and how to be a part of the online community. I'll drop those in my show notes, as well as their social media handles and info on their Mother's Day event, if that's something you would like to attend at the Villa Terrace. If you are not a mom or a new mom, and you made it this far, thank you. Thanks for listening. I bet you know a new mom you could share this with. So please forward this episode to somebody who could use this connection. And if you appreciate what I'm doing in my own attempt to connect us in the Cream City, I would love it if you would leave me a review on Apple Podcast. 5 stars are great. Written reviews are even better. I'm so grateful. So grateful, in fact, that I will be here next week with another Milwaukee woman living her dream in the Cream City. Until then, Milwaukee, keep on dreaming.